The Dark Pictures anthology, House of Ashes, is the third installment in the series made by Supermassive Games. A cinematic horror game that finally takes the series in the correct direction, while also keeping up with some of the same mistakes as the previous two games in the series. This video will be talking about the entire story of House of Ashes, as well as what this game gets right and wrong. This is the first one in the series that I think tells the better story, even though it does have the generic characters again, but I do think it should be played first. It is roughly 6 hours long, so it isn't too bad to get through, and there is some replay value with doing different choices. However, I don't necessarily like replaying this series. The game mechanics aren't varied enough to warrant another playthrough, outside of seeing some variations in character dialogue or changing who lives and dies. But with that out of the way, it's time to talk about the game. The game starts off like the previous games, with a flashback in time with something that is similar to the future story. With this game, you're back in Akkad in 2231 BC. Yes, I probably said that wrong. It is someplace that would be in present-day Iraq. The king is trying to sacrifice as many people as he can to help them survive the massive war that is incoming for them. The only characters that kinda matter here in this intro sequence is the guy with this awesome beard thing, this enemy that they've captured, and this ridiculous king. The choices doesn't matter too much early on here, but it does start to show off the hint of the supernatural. There's some sort of creatures hidden here and are after everyone. The sacrifice appears to have been something to give to these creatures, but I never fully understood that in the early section. I did, however, realize very quickly that you need to play this game on performance mode, or else you would likely fail a quick time event like I did. Well, the characters end up dying by these mysterious monsters that they believe is related to some sort of curse, and the overlying quote, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend."
The enemy of my enemy
is a friend.
Some good Alien vs Predator vibes here, honestly. Well, after this rather interesting flashback intro, you get the game's true intro, which is still my favorite aspect of the series. You're introduced to the curator here, and he's still as fantastic as ever. Honestly, if Supermassive ever decides just to go make horror shorts for Netflix, I hope it's just this. They would have all of my money. I'm going to talk about the characters and then go into the main plot of the game, as just going through every story beat isn't necessary for this game. There's Eric King, the Colonel, a generally kind of shitty character, yet most of these characters are. They keep up with the stereotypes. He's married to the queen bitch, Rachel King, who is separated from Eric and is technically cheating on him with my least favorite character, Nick K. His voice acting and general character isn't the best. He alone made me think the twist of this game is going to end up being PTSD.
So what happened at the checkpoint, I thought I was done. These last few weeks, you've lifted me up. I don't know where I'd be without you.
The fourth character, and the one that grew on me the most, is Jason Kolchak. He's the most typical military guy, but he also has some good character building, and after you get over his accent that feels forced, he is great. Lastly, there's Salim, a Republican guard in Iraq, who also gets intertwined into the story. Well, the main plot of the game is trying to get into an underground storage system that may hold weapons of mass destruction that Saddam Hussein has. Hey, guess what? That wasn't true, and it was an underground temple that was seen at the intro of the game, granted well over 3,000 years later. This causes some issues with the trust between everyone and Eric due to the mistake he made, but at the same time, it was 2003. If they ran a scan of this area and saw a huge area that was just empty under here, it is either a massive cave or a bunker. It's an honest mistake. Well, a mini battle occurs, and you lose two very stereotypical people. One that does the whole, "Hey, I like working behind a desk, less bullets" guy, and the guy who needs to make a sexual joke every few minutes or else his heart will explode. But at least they don't matter to the game's full outcome, and a few jokes made me laugh at least.
Hey look, your mama's so nasty. I called her for phone sex, now I got a fucking ear infection.
Well, damn. How long you been sitting on now?
Oh yeah, you like that? I got a shit ton more of those bad boys lined up.
Yeah, that's what your mama said.
You two want to cut the bullshit and focus on the mission?
Hey, only one place I let a woman boss me around like that, alright? That's between the sheets.
I'm surprised your mom lets women into your bedroom. Don't want her getting jealous now.
Damn, Rachel.
Hey, what the fuck y'all laughing at?
Pretty much immediately, they get split up and notice something is up with this place, and that they aren't alone, at least outside of the other soldiers. This is something that the previous games haven't really been able to do, and has built up tension more as you're walking around. The third person shots and the fantastic lighting help a decent amount with this.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Well, there are monsters down here. And for the first time in the series, excluding the first game Until Dawn, there are actual monsters here. Everyone sees them, and it isn't a hallucination or PTSD. I'm honestly stunned they finally did this, and the full reveal of where they truly came from, which I'll get to soon, is fully worthwhile. You switch between characters for a bit, all while building the character bonds with each other, as well as having chances of killing one another as you go. The first one being if you possibly kill Rachel while playing as Eric. I had a feeling she wasn't going to die regardless, because they always show the death not cut away in these games, but I had a feeling that she may be actually dead. She was hanging on a rope, and you get the choice to cut it or not. There is zero reason to cut the rope unless you're just being a dick. You do jump back to the curator shortly after this and see all 5 candles still lit, so you would know that she's still alive based on having 5 playable characters. You uncover more bits of the story as you go, as in there were other explorers here before, and they were also fighting these monsters, with some pretty good documentary style journals you find.
October the 21st, 1946. Crow was the first to break into the tomb, an honor he shared with Bessie, that damned machine gun of his. It was a beast of a weapon, but it seemed to comfort the fellaheen doing the digging.
Pretty soon it starts to jump off, as you keep switching between characters and going deeper and deeper into this underground chasm. If you've seen The Descent, this game has some inspirations from it to me, with underground creatures and a giant pool of blood that the character has to be in. Eventually, before you dive all the way into this cavern, there's a major battle where I pretty much lost 2 characters due to one quick time event that I missed, out of I think 50 up to this point. However, based on everything that was going on in this game, I feel several characters should die for it to be believable to me, and I did have everyone survive in the previous games. There's a giant underground section that appears to be like alien in nature, and surprise, these things actually came from outer space. Good on Supermassive for actually going all the way with it and having aliens be in their game. The goal here is to kill all of them off and escape. However, Rachel got infected due to my one quick time mistake earlier, so I had to shoot her in the head.
What are you waiting for?
Down to 3 characters in the explosive finale. You get to the hive, set off some bombs with the enemy of your enemy, Salim, and get to the surface. Here's where the game should have ended, but they squeezed a little bit more combat. Thankfully it isn't too long and it feels earned. It has the same solar eclipse shot from earlier in the game and it looks great. Game is over, and there are some characters basically doing a debrief over the credits. They seem to know more than what's actually going on, they're pretty much Men in Black doing a cover up here. I really like it, but it's a shame that these are one-off games. There is more to this specific universe that I would have liked to see. So even with how much I really like the story and where they took some of the characters, there are some things that I wish Supermassive would stray away from. I think there needs to be more variation in the dialogue options. There's always 2 options, plus the whole say nothing part. There's a lot of ways that this can go, and more branches for character growth, but perhaps it is due to them wanting some of these characters to stay stereotypical, which mostly helps with the series, especially with Little Hope. I think they want you to play the characters the way that they're predetermined rather than you filling the shoes. I didn't give a shit about Rachel and Nick's relationship. They've been together for like 3 weeks, and they think I would choose them over Rachel and Eric? Nah, those 2 have chemistry unlike the awkward Nick. I also didn't like the typical Iraq soldier general. With everything that's been going on, he still needs to shoot at the Americans? And earlier with Nick and Salim, he can't explain more about how they're working together? And stuff like that I wish was more expanded on. Plus there's the whole frame-rate issue of playing on quality mode that I dropped right away due to failing a QuickTime event, and I'm playing on a PS5. However, performance mode is hella smooth, so there's that. I do wish some of the dialogue options had darker backgrounds, like this earlier section. I actually wanted to call air support, but I couldn't really tell what I was reading from far away, and I chose the stealth option. Regardless, I don't think this option really mattered. I think it was mostly set up for some dialogue rather than gameplay. I also wish the buttons were a different color instead of always gray. However, this may have been an accessibility option that I just didn't notice. The writing in this game has some true believability to it. Sure, these characters are rather flat with their personality, but a lot of the writing makes up for it. That, along with the fantastic performance capture and impressive graphics, makes for a believable story that if you didn't realize it was a game at a quick glance, it may seem like a show. I really like how well this is done, and I want to make sure this is known. There are even some very subtle glimpses of seeing the curator as you're playing the game, and if you didn't see it right away, you may not even notice he was there. The build-up of Salim and Jason is one of the best character arcs I've seen in a game. They even make the backstory that I disliked about Nick feel warranted due to how well it was delivered later on. That, and the great Semper Fi moments that they do when Salim is around. He is such a great character that he deserves a few moments of appreciation.
You want to hear a joke?
Nope.
I feel like our uniforms are getting in the way of what could be a beautiful relationship. Hoorah! Hoorah! Hoorah!
There's generally a lot to like about this third installment of the series. I'm really glad that they've been pumping these games out every October, and for a trilogy, it is fitting to see how far they've come. Even though I consider Until Dawn to be the best game that they've made, these are still really enjoyable and going more and more in the right direction.
I know what it means to be a killer. Think of the most profound thing you've ever done.
Oh, and did I say trilogy? They still do the sequel trailer at the end of the game, and that one seems like it would be incredible and exactly what I want them to make. A full-on Saw-like horror game. Supermassive, I hope you guys keep on improving the series, and I really hope you get to make a second season, or take the time and make a larger scale game again, like Until Dawn. But that's the end of this video. If what I said seemed interesting, definitely give the series a shot. It's really enjoyable for horror fans, minus some caveated things like the mechanics. Oh, and this co-op. Something that makes this game a tad bit more better, but it hides some of the mystery. See you all on the next one.
I've left my mark on the world.